In this video, I want to talk with you about eyes. That's what God's putting on my heart right now. And I can see why. In Matthew 6:22, Jesus says, the eye is the lamp of the body. If your eyes are healthy, your whole body will be full of light. Okay, so what exactly does that mean? What does it mean to have healthy eyes? In the Old Testament, God establishes what eyes are. And in the New Testament, he talks a little bit more about what it means to have eyes to see. So let's take a look at this. Genesis 3:5, for God knows that when you eat from it, your eyes will be open and you will be like God, knowing good and evil. So eyes, it's not literally your eyes will be open. Their eyes obviously were open. They were able to see the fruit. But it's that they will have understanding. They will have some sort of perspective and wisdom that is being given to them that they don't currently have. Then the eyes of both of them were open, and they realized they were naked, so they sewed fig leaves together and made coverings for themselves. So they had some sort of understanding that they didn't previously have. Genesis 6:8, but Noah found favor in the eyes of the Lord. Now, what does that mean? In the eyes of the Lord, in the perspective of the Lord, in the heart of the Lord, in the wisdom of the Lord. So again, we have this concept of perspective. The only perspective that matters really is God's perspective, right? Noah had favor in the eyes of the Lord, but the people made fun of him. So in the eyes of the people, he did not have favor. Who cares about the perspective of man? It's the perspective of God that matters. It's the understanding and wisdom of God that matters. If you would like, you can continue on in your search of the Old Testament, and you're going to see that this theme goes over and over and over. I'm going to skip ahead to the New Testament. Matthew 6:22, the eye is the lamp of the body. If your eyes are healthy, your whole body will be full of light. Jesus is going on, he's continuing on from something that has been established. But if your eyes are unhealthy, your whole body will be full of darkness. If then the light within you is darkness, how great is that darkness? Then he touched their eyes and said, according to your faith, let it be done to you. Okay, so even blindness, when Jesus is speaking with the blind man, after he has healed him, and he is telling him in the book of John, well, first he asks him, do you believe in the Son of Man? And he says, well, tell me where he is or who he is so that I can believe. And he says, he's standing right here with you. And he realizes this is the man who healed him. And he says, I believe. And Jesus tells the man, I've come to make those who see blind and those who are blind see. And the Pharisees know that he's talking about them, and they get upset, and they say, you're not talking about us, are you? And Jesus responds to them that if they had not claimed to see, that they would not be guilty, but because they claim to see, that they are guilty. Is he talking about visual sight, or is he talking about this wisdom that's been established in the Old Testament? Understanding that's been established in the Old Testament. I'm going to actually go back to Isaiah, because Isaiah talks about this in a way that we want to understand right now. Isaiah 6:10, make the heart of this people calloused, make their ears dull, and close their eyes. Otherwise they might see with their eyes, hear with their ears, understand with their hearts, and turn and be healed. So if you see, you're able to perceive something, and there's a component of wisdom that goes along with that being able to see something, being able to understand. And it goes along with the ears, the eyes, and the heart. And in Matthew 13:15, Jesus, he cites Isaiah, saying, for this people's heart has become callous. They hardly hear with their ears, and they have closed their eyes. Otherwise they might see with their eyes, hear with their ears, understand with their hearts, and turn, and I would heal them. In Matthew 13:16, he says, but blessed are your eyes because they see, and your ears because they hear. In Matthew 18:9, he says, and if your eye causes you to stumble, gouge it out and throw it away. It's better for you to enter life with one eye than to have two eyes and be thrown into the fire of hell. Matthew 20:34, Jesus had compassion on them and touched their eyes. Immediately they received their sight and followed him. And that's what we do when we receive our sight. We follow him. We receive understanding, we receive wisdom, and we follow him. In Mark 8:18, he says, do you have eyes but fail to see, and ears but fail to hear, and don't you remember? And in Mark 8:25, it says, once more Jesus put his hands on the man's eyes. Then his eyes were opened, his sight was restored, and he saw everything clearly. That is a very powerful statement right there, because when God makes us see, everything is clear. There's no confusion. There's nothing muddling it up. We're able to see with clear spiritual understanding that is bestowed by God. That's what it means to have eyes. So we can agree that having the eyes to see means that there's specific understanding that is only bestowed by God, specific wisdom and perspective that only God can give. And so when Jesus says your eye is the lamp of the body, when your eyes are healthy, your whole body is also full of light. But when they are unhealthy, your body is also full of darkness. What are healthy eyes and what are unhealthy eyes? Healthy eyes are the ability to see according to the wisdom and perspective of God, which only God bestows. Unhealthy eyes are when you are blind as the Pharisees and you do not have perspective, you have confusion, you have arrogance and pride, and all of the things that go along with living according to the perspective of the devil in the world. There are scales over your eyes. And Jesus talks about certain things being hidden from our eyes. But blessed are those who see. Blessed are those who see. Why are they blessed? They're blessed because only God could make them see. And so if God is giving you spiritual eyes to see what's going on, to hear the message on the channel, which is not readily accepted, by the way, blessed are your eyes. Healthy are your eyes. Because only that comes from God. And it's interesting that he uses this analogy, of course, on purpose, that there is light, that your eyes are the lamp of the body. If you're able to see, there is light in your perspective. There is light in your body. You've been given the Spirit of God. If you are not able to see, you're probably not listening to this channel, first of all. But if you're not able to see, how great is the darkness? If your perspective is unhealthy, according to the world, you don't have understanding, how great is the darkness that is in that person. I hope that is demystified, that context that Jesus used. It is truly essential in your covenant that you gain that ability to see and hear and understand. And it only comes from God. And if you're struggling with it, then you really do need to return to him and pray that things will be made clear to you, and you need to remove all of the idols. Because remember, those who don't understand are living according to the confused spirit of the world. And so if you have any idols that you're placing before God, that's what's going to happen. It's going to muddle your ability to see. God requires followers who are single-minded and who worship him in the spirit and in truth. And if anything is being placed before him in your heart, you can't possibly worship him in the spirit and in truth, because that's where he placed his spirit, right? That's what we find out from Ezekiel 36, 26 through 27, is that he removed our heart of stone, gave us a heart of flesh, a softened heart, and placed his spirit in our heart. If anything else is in our heart, it is creating a problem to our ability to communicate with him, be connected to him, and to hear from him, and to understand and to see. Thank you for listening. Please discern this message with God.